In 1915, a ship was crushed by ice at the bottom of the world. Its 28 men were stranded on the ice over 1,000 miles from help. They had no radio, no rescue coming, and almost no chance. And yet, incredibly, every single one of them came home alive. It began in 1914. An explorer named Ernest Shackleton set out to do the impossible. He wanted to be the first to cross Antarctica on foot, from one coast to the other. His ship was a sturdy wooden vessel named the Endurance. The name would turn out to be perfect. He gathered a crew of experienced sailors, scientists, and one photographer. In all, 28 men set sail for the ice. They left the last outpost of civilization in December 1914. Ahead of them lay the frozen Weddell Sea. At first, the Endurance pushed through loose floating ice, but the pack ice grew thicker and closed in around the ship. In January 1915, the Endurance became completely trapped. The sea froze solid around the hull, gripping it like a fist. The ship could not move forward or back. For months, it simply drifted, frozen into the ice. The crew waited, hoping the spring thaw would free them. Instead, the ice began to squeeze. The pressure of millions of tons of ice pressed against the wooden hull. The ship groaned and cracked under the strain. Slowly, the ice crushed the Endurance. Shackleton gave the order to abandon ship. The men hauled lifeboats, supplies, and sledges out onto the ice. In November 1915, the Endurance finally sank beneath the ice. The men were now stranded on a drifting sheet of frozen sea. They set up camp on the floes, living in tents on the ice itself. Their home was drifting slowly, at the mercy of the currents. For months they camped, rationing food and waiting. When the ice finally broke apart, they launched their 3 small lifeboats. After a desperate week in the open boats, they reached a bare island. It was the first land they had touched in almost 500 days. But the island was empty, remote, and far from any shipping route. No one even knew they were there. Rescue would not come to them. So Shackleton decided to go and find it. He chose 5 men to make an almost suicidal voyage. They took the strongest lifeboat, a tiny craft called the James Caird. Their target was a whaling station on the island of South Georgia. It lay 800 miles away, across the stormiest ocean on Earth. In a boat barely 7 meters long, 6 men set out into towering waves. For 16 days, they were soaked, frozen, and battered by storms. The navigator could only glimpse the sun a handful of times. With those few readings, he had to find a speck of land in a vast ocean. Somehow, against all odds, he did. But they landed on the wrong side of South Georgia. The whaling station was on the far coast, across unmapped mountains. 3 of the men, including Shackleton, set off on foot. They climbed over glaciers and peaks no one had ever crossed. For 36 hours straight, without rest, they pushed on. Finally, they staggered into the whaling station, ragged and half-frozen. The whalers could hardly believe these men were still alive. But Shackleton was not finished. 22 men were still stranded on Elephant Island. Again and again, he tried to sail back for them. 3 times the sea ice turned him away. On the 4th attempt, he finally broke through. Every one of the 28 men was rescued. Not a single life was lost. For more than a century, the wreck of the Endurance lay lost beneath the ice. In 2022, it was found, standing almost perfectly preserved on the seabed, its name still readable on the stern.